Chapter 10: A Tense Partnership. The sun dipped below the horizon, its last rays spilling a golden hue across the deck of the Sea Serpent. The once vibrant daylight faded, giving way to the deepening blue of twilight. Shadows stretched long and dark over the wooden planks, their silhouettes mirroring the growing tension between Mara and Cale. The ship's black sails, now furled against the mast, fluttered slightly in the cool evening breeze, adding a rhythmic backdrop to the uneasy atmosphere that hung between them. As the darkness settled in, it brought a palpable sense of unease, wrapping around the two leaders like a heavy shroud. Mara, standing at the helm, glanced out over the water with a mixture of impatience and resolve. Her sharp gaze cut through the dim light, reflecting her frustration with the slow pace of their investigation. Each creak of the ship's timbers seemed to amplify her growing irritation with the methodical approach that Cale favored. Cale, on the other hand, was leaning against the railing, his azure scales catching the last vestiges of light. The gentle undulation of the water below was a stark contrast to the storm brewing within him. His posture, though regal, carried the weight of responsibility and a deep-seated concern for the complexity of their mission. The calm demeanor he maintained did little to mask the strain of working alongside someone whose methods were so foreign to his own. The gentle rocking of the Sea Serpent felt almost ironic against the backdrop of their fraught partnership. Every wave that lapped against the hull seemed to echo the discord between Mara's impulsive, action-oriented approach and Cale's meticulous, strategic mindset. The ship's motion provided a sense of continuity and stability that contrasted sharply with the volatility of their interactions. Mara's frustration was evident in the quick, sharp movements as she paced the deck, her boots echoing off the wooden planks. Her eyes, steely and focused, rarely left Cale as she muttered under her breath about the need for immediate action. She was a woman of swift decisions and quick solutions, and the constant need to slow down for the sake of thoroughness was beginning to wear on her. Cale's calm exterior was a thin veneer over the growing strain of working with someone whose approach clashed so fundamentally with his own. He meticulously reviewed their plans and notes, his brow furrowing in concentration. The contrast between his methodical, deliberate nature and Mara's urgency was palpable, and each interaction seemed to heighten the sense of discord between their contrasting worlds. As night fell, the deck of the Sea Serpent became a stage for their uneasy collaboration. Lanterns cast flickering light across their faces, illuminating their tense expressions. The shadows deepened around them, mirroring the complexities of their mission and the struggle to bridge their differences. Every decision they made together was fraught with the challenge of reconciling their disparate approaches. Despite the discord, there was a shared understanding beneath the surface. The stakes of their mission were too high to ignore. Both Mara and Cale were acutely aware that their success depended on overcoming their differences and forging a cohesive partnership. The tension of the night was a testament to their struggle, but it was also a reminder of the critical importance of their combined efforts in the face of the looming threat. Mara stood at the helm of the Sea Serpent, the weight of responsibility etched into her furrowed brow. The lanterns cast a warm, flickering glow on her determined face, highlighting the intensity of her focus as she pored over the latest intelligence reports. The ocean's deep blue stretched endlessly before her, a vast canvas against which her thoughts raced. Her approach to the situation was as sharp and uncompromising as her years spent navigating treacherous waters and outmaneuvering ruthless adversaries. Her method was a reflection of her seasoned experience, decisive and direct. She had spent countless nights at sea, facing unpredictable weather and more treacherous foes, and her strategy was to gather as much information as possible and act with unyielding speed. The intelligence reports were spread out before her, each document a piece of the intricate puzzle they were trying to solve. To Mara, the details mattered, but what mattered more was the ability to act on them before the conspiracy could fully unfold. Her patience was thin, especially in situations that required swift action. As she scanned the reports, her mind worked like a well-oiled machine, moving from one piece of information to the next with a sense of urgency. The gravity of the conspiracy made her increasingly impatient with any form of hesitation or indecision. Every minute spent in deliberation was a minute lost in the race against time to neutralize the looming threat. The constant motion of the sea serpent seemed almost to mirror the restless energy Mara exuded. The ship rocked gently, its creaking timbers a reminder of the ever-present danger that accompanied their mission. Her resolve was unwavering, her eyes sharp as she scrutinized every detail for clues that might reveal the conspiracy's next move. The rhythmic sound of the waves lapping against the hull was a steady backdrop to her intense concentration. Mara's straightforward approach was both a strength and a limitation. While her decisiveness was crucial in navigating the dangerous waters of their mission, it also clashed with the more cautious methods employed by her counterpart, Kale. The friction between their styles was palpable, but Mara was singularly focused on the task at hand. Her mind was set on one goal: uncovering and dismantling the conspiracy before it could reach its destructive potential. Her impatience with the slow pace of their investigation was evident in her brisk movements and sharp comments. Each delay seemed to amplify her frustration, fueling her drive to cut through the web of deception with relentless speed. The urgency of their mission left no room for hesitation, and Mara's approach was a testament to her deep-seated belief in the necessity of immediate action. As the night wore on, Mara continued her relentless pursuit of answers. The lantern's glow cast long shadows across the deck, highlighting the determined lines of her face. Her commitment to their mission was evident in every gesture and decision, her experience guiding her through the complexity of the conspiracy. The stakes were high, and for Mara, there was no room for anything but swift, decisive action in the face of looming danger. In stark contrast to Mara's commanding presence, Kale lingered near the edge of the deck, his regal posture a constant reminder of his royal lineage. The moonlight reflected off his azure scales, casting an ethereal glow that seemed almost out of place amidst the rugged environment of the sea serpent. His demeanor was calm and composed, a direct result of his life spent navigating the intricate and shadowy world of Atlantea's political landscape. Kale's approach to the investigation was a study in meticulousness and caution. Each movement he made was deliberate, reflecting a deep-seated need to analyze every detail and weigh every possibility before taking action. This careful, measured approach was born from years of dealing with the hidden dangers of court politics, where a single misstep could have dire consequences. His methodical nature demanded thorough consideration of every potential risk, a stark departure from Mara's more spontaneous style. As he pored over the intelligence reports, Kale's eyes moved with precision, lingering on every scrap of information as if it might hold the key to unlocking the conspiracy. His patience was evident in the slow, deliberate pace with which he sifted through the documents. Each piece of evidence was examined with care, as if he were piecing together a complex tapestry of deceit. The need for accuracy and avoidance of unnecessary risk shaped his every action, setting him apart from the more immediate and action-oriented approach of his counterpart. This careful, deliberate approach stood in sharp contrast to Mara's impulsive style, creating a palpable friction between the two leaders. Where Mara was quick to act and quick to judge, Kale's method was to pause, reflect, and proceed with caution. The tension between their differing methods was evident, each leader's approach a reflection of their distinct backgrounds and experiences. Mara's impatience with delay clashed with Kale's insistence on thoroughness, adding an additional layer of complexity to their partnership. Despite their differing styles, both Mara and Kale were united in their goal, even if their methods were at odds. The friction between them was a constant undercurrent, but it also highlighted the strength each brought to their joint mission. As the night wore on and the sea serpent rocked gently beneath them, The dynamic between the impulsive pirate captain and the meticulous mermaid prince became a crucial element of their efforts to unravel the conspiracy threatening their realms. Cale's voice broke the tense silence, carrying a calm yet firm tone that cut through the growing frustration on the deck. "Rushing into things without a full picture can be disastrous," he stated, his eyes fixed on the maps and documents spread out before him. The scattered papers were a testament to the complexity of their investigation, each piece a fragment of the larger puzzle they sought to solve. His expression revealed a blend of frustration and concern, underscoring the gravity of their situation. He stepped closer to the maps, his fingers lightly tracing the lines and markings as if trying to coax more information from the ink and paper. The intricate network of routes and notes was a reflection of their current dilemma, a convoluted web of deceit and danger that demanded careful navigation. Cale's concern was not merely for the immediate mission but for the broader implications of their actions. He understood that a single misstep could have far-reaching consequences. "We need to gather more intel before taking any drastic actions," Cale continued, his gaze sweeping over the documents with a mixture of intensity and deliberation. His voice carried a sense of urgency, though tempered by his cautious nature. The fragments of their findings were critical, but they needed to be pieced together more carefully to avoid misinterpretation or oversight. His insistence on thoroughness was rooted in the understanding that every detail mattered in their fight against the conspiracy. "The prophecy warned of deception," he reminded Mara, his tone carrying a note of solemnity. "We must be meticulous to avoid falling into traps." The weight of the prophecy loomed over their efforts, a constant reminder of the dangers they faced. Cale's words were not just a caution but a directive born from his experience in navigating the treacherous waters of political intrigue. His focus was on ensuring that every step they took was informed and deliberate, minimizing the risk of being ensnared by their enemies. As he spoke, Cale's demeanor remained composed, though the tension in his posture suggested the depth of his concern. His patience was evident in the careful manner with which he handled the documents, and in the measured tone of his voice. The balance he sought to achieve between caution and action was crucial to their success, and he was determined to maintain it despite the mounting pressure. Mara, listening intently, could see the resolve in Cale's eyes, even if she chafed at the slower pace he advocated. The clash between her more immediate, action-oriented approach and Cale's thorough, methodical style was palpable. Yet, as much as it tested her patience, she recognized the value in his caution. The stakes were too high for recklessness, and Cale's insistence on a meticulous approach was a necessary counterbalance to her own tendencies. Mara's eyes narrowed with frustration as she glanced sharply at Cale. The tension between them was palpable, a clash of urgency against caution. "We don't have time for endless deliberation," she snapped, her voice cutting through the air with a sharp edge. Her gaze was fixed on Cale, challenging his cautious approach with the urgency of their situation. Every word she spoke was driven by the pressure of time, each second ticking away as the conspiracy loomed larger. "Every moment we waste gives the conspirators more time to execute their plot," she continued, her tone conveying a sense of mounting urgency. Mara's frustration was evident in her posture, her arms crossed tightly as she tried to convey the gravity of their predicament. "We need to be proactive, not just reactive," she emphasized, her voice firm and resolute. Her stance was a stark contrast to Cale's methodical pace. To Mara, the situation demanded immediate action, a race against a clock that left little room for hesitation or detailed analysis. Her focus was on the need to disrupt the conspirators' plans before they could fully unfold. "Our approach needs to be faster if we're going to prevent this assassination," Mara concluded, her eyes locking onto Cale's with an unwavering intensity. The urgency in her voice was matched by the determination in her expression. She understood the stakes all too well and was adamant that their strategy needed to reflect the critical nature of their mission. The disagreement between Mara and Cale extended beyond mere tactical differences. It was rooted in deep-seated philosophies and contrasting life experiences. On the deck of the Sea Serpent, their discord was evident not only in their heated debates but also in their very demeanor. Mara's years of piracy had shaped her into a decisive leader who trusted her instincts above all else. Her instincts had guided her through countless perilous situations, and she believed in swift, decisive action to stay ahead of any threat. In stark contrast, Cale's upbringing as a prince had instilled in him a different set of values. His life in the opulent and politically charged corridors of Atlanteus Palace had emphasized the importance of strategy, careful planning, and thorough analysis. To him, every move needed to be meticulously calculated to avoid unforeseen pitfalls. His approach was methodical, reflecting his experience in navigating the complex and often treacherous world of royal politics. Each leader viewed the other's methods through a lens of suspicion and skepticism. Mara saw Cale's meticulous planning as a hindrance, a slow and cumbersome process that might miss crucial opportunities to act. Her frustration grew as she perceived his cautious approach as a potential liability that could cost them precious time. On the other hand, Cale regarded Mara's reliance on intuition and rapid decisions as reckless and potentially dangerous. He worried that her approach might lead them into traps they were ill-prepared to handle. As the mission progressed, the divide between their approaches only seemed to widen. Each tactical disagreement was not merely about strategy but also about their fundamental beliefs and how best to handle crises. Their different perspectives created a chasm that threatened to undermine their collaboration, with each leader feeling that the other's methods were incompatible with their goals. Despite their shared objective, the rift between their philosophies made it challenging to forge a unified approach. The tension between Mara's impulsiveness and Cale's caution was a constant undercurrent, affecting their interactions and decisions. As they continued their investigation, the challenge of reconciling these opposing viewpoints became as critical as the mission itself, testing their ability to work together under mounting pressure. As the night wore on, the tension between Mara and Cale became almost palpable, hanging heavily in the air like an oppressive fog. Their interactions were marked by terse exchanges and strained silence, each word and gesture underscored by unspoken frustration. The moon cast its pale light over the deck of the Sea Serpent, highlighting the lines of stress etched into their faces as they struggled to navigate their clashing approaches. The deck was cluttered with maps, notes, and half-empty cups of coffee, the remnants of their long hours of deliberation. Mara paced with restless energy, her sharp eyes darting to the horizon and then back to the documents strewn about. Her movements were abrupt, reflecting her inner turmoil and frustration with the slow pace of their current strategy. Cale, meanwhile, stood apart from the chaos of the deck, his regal posture a stark contrast to the disarray around him. His gaze was fixed on the maps with intense concentration, his fingers tracing over lines and symbols as he sought clarity amidst the confusion. The cool night breeze ruffled his azure scales, and his expression was a mix of concern and resolve, tempered by the constraints of his cautious nature. Despite the visible barrier of their disagreement, there was an underlying current of shared understanding between them. Each was acutely aware of the gravity of their situation, their eyes reflecting the same burning urgency. The stakes they faced were not just personal but monumental, encompassing the fate of both their realms and the lives of countless individuals. Their differing methodologies were a constant source of friction, yet beneath the surface, there was a mutual recognition of their common goal. Both Mara and Cale were driven by an unyielding commitment to protect their kingdoms and prevent the unfolding disaster that loomed over them. This shared objective, however fraught with conflict, bound them together in a fragile partnership. The complexity of the conspiracy they sought to unravel was becoming increasingly apparent, and the stakes grew higher with each passing hour. The weight of their mission pressed down on them, making the strain between their divergent approaches even more pronounced. Yet, despite their frequent clashes, either could deny the necessity of working together. As the night deepened and the stars shimmered overhead, Mara and Kale found themselves at a crossroads. Their partnership, though tested by conflict, remained their only chance to uncover the truth behind the conspiracy and safeguard their futures. The path forward was fraught with challenges, but their mutual determination to see their mission through provided a glimmer of hope amidst the turmoil. In the dim light of the moon and the flickering lanterns, the two leaders continued their uneasy collaboration. Their interactions were marked by a blend of tension and reluctant respect, a testament to the complex nature of their alliance. Despite the difficulties, the shared goal of protecting their realms kept them moving forward, united in their resolve to face the threats that lay ahead. As the first stars began to emerge in the darkening sky, their faint twinkle offering a distant promise of hope, Mara and Kale faced the pressing need to bridge the gap between their conflicting approaches. The serenity of the night contrasted sharply with the tension that lay between them, a reminder of the stakes riding on their ability to find common ground. The success of their mission hinged on their capacity to unite their disparate strengths and overcome the barriers of mutual distrust. The deck of the Sea Serpent was quiet, save for the soft creak of wood and the gentle lapping of waves against the hull. The weight of the night seemed to press down on them, intensifying the challenge of reconciling their differing methods. Mara, with her decisive and instinctive style, and Kale, with his methodical and cautious approach, were both acutely aware that their success depended on blending their strengths rather than allowing their differences to derail their efforts. As they continued their uneasy collaboration, each moment of interaction was a test of their patience and willingness to compromise. The frustration of their conflicting strategies was evident, yet there was an undercurrent of determination driving them forward. The complexity of their mission demanded more than just individual skills. It required a seamless integration of their unique approaches to navigate the intricate web of conspiracy and danger they faced. The night deepened, casting a cloak of shadows over the deck, and the stars above seemed to mirror the challenge that lay before them. Mara and Kale knew that their ability to work together would be the key to unraveling the conspiracy and securing their realms. Their partnership, though fraught with difficulty, held the promise of success if they could overcome their mutual distrust and harness their combined strengths.